Now, here's a podcast I didn't see doing. Eddie Lampkin has entered the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and of course, we're always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's mini podcast, we're going to talk about the breaking news that occurred last night. According to multiple reports out there, Syracuse center Eddie Lampkin has entered the transfer portal. And this is shocking news because does he have eligibility or does he not have eligibility? Plus, would he have been a good fit for Syracuse? All that and more here on this mini edition of Locked On Syracuse. Let's get to the news, okay? Eddie Lampkin is in the transfer portal. Lampkin last season in his 1 year with Syracuse averaged 12 points and 10 rebounds per game. He was one of the few bright spots on a team last year that simply was not very good. But there's an issue, and there's a reason why myself and probably many of you all feel the same way right now, which is, does Eddie Lampkin have eligibility? Or does he not have eligibility? See, we all assumed he didn't. But he's in the transfer portal, so what's going on? What's the deal? Well, backstory. Eddie Lampkin's first year in college was the COVID year, which was the 2020-21 season. That year, everyone in college basketball got a free season. That year essentially did not count as a year of eligibility. It was free. And Eddie Lampkin in that season played in 10 games. Eddie Lampkin also played in 4 seasons after the COVID year. And in those 4 seasons, he played in 24 games or more in each and every one of them. So there's no medical or hardship waiver that can apply to any of those seasons because he played too many games in each and every one of them. So it's unclear whether or not the NCAA has already granted Eddie Lampkin another year of eligibility or he's simply fighting to gain another year of eligibility. The reporting on it is a little bit finicky. That's why I'm just telling you what is out there online right now. Regardless, you can never put it past the NCAA or the courts ruling in favor of the player and giving a player another year of eligibility. So it makes sense why a guy like Eddie Lampkin would try to gain a 6th year of college eligibility. What's his case? All right. So Eddie Lampkin only played in 10 games during that COVID season. And what's being reported out there is he's most likely going to try to argue that he deserves a full COVID season. Now, there is a way to do that. A medical red shirt or a hardship red shirt, you can apply for it, but it's a 3-pronged process. And we talked about this when actually JJ Starling got hurt last season with that hand injury. Number one, the injury or the hardship, whatever the waiver is being used for, it has to be quote unquote season ending, meaning this thing occurred and you did not play the rest of the year. Well, in Eddie Lampkin's case, he returned for 3 of TCU's final 4 games in 2021. So whatever he was dealing with during that COVID year, he returned at the end of the season. So right off the bat, I don't know how he is going to get a medical year or a hardship waiver year because he returned at the end of the season. Another thing that you have to check off is the situation must have occurred before the halfway point of the year. Now, it's a little bit confusing how the NCAA determines the halfway point of a season, so I'm unsure whether or not Eddie Lampkin checks this box or not. But again, He returned at the end of the season, so it shouldn't really matter regardless. And furthermore, a player must also not participate in more than 30% of the team's games that year. Well, Eddie Lampkin played in 10 of 26 games for TCU, and that's 38%. So overall, I get why Eddie Lampkin would try to fight for that 6th year of eligibility, but I don't see how he really has a case. I don't. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you think that Eddie Lampkin should get another year of eligibility? I want to hear from you. And coming up, we'll talk about whether or not he would have been a good fit for Syracuse basketball this upcoming season if he actually could return, because I think we all assume that he was done at the end of last year. That's coming up next here on Locked On Syracuse. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. This is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. I wonder if you all thought this same thing when you received the news that Eddie Lampkin, Syracuse's starting center from a year ago, entered the transfer portal. It was really shocking because, again, he didn't have any more years of eligibility, and he's entering the portal. And again, we will see whether or not he gets another year. But regardless, he's in the portal, and it got me thinking, would he have been a good fit had he returned to Syracuse basketball if he were given that extra year of eligibility? Well, Syracuse does need at least one more starting caliber player in the transfer portal, in my opinion. And unless you believe that William Kyle is the answer at center for Syracuse, well, you could say that that final starter Syracuse needs has to be a center. But I don't necessarily believe that Eddie Lampkin would have been a good fit for Syracuse basketball for this roster coming up. And here's why. He does not defend. If you put Eddie Lampkin in Syracuse's starting five next year, here's the starting five, all right? Nathan George, J.J. Starling, Nate Kings, Donnie Freeman, and Eddie Lampkin. That's a really strong offensive unit on paper, but they are also not going to get a single stop. So, in my opinion, Eddie Lampkin, while yes, he does give you 12 and 10, he's also going to give up 12 points on the other end, making him basically a net zero. Syracuse needs a center that can actually defend. So in my mind, Eddie Lampkin, good player. I think he could be productive elsewhere if given that extra year of eligibility. I mean, he was productive for Syracuse a year ago, but I don't believe he would fit next year's team. They definitely need to focus more on players now in the portal that can actually defend at a high level. As far as what is coming up on Locked On Syracuse in the future, tomorrow there will be a full podcast talking about one thing that Syracuse desperately needs in the portal going forward. You probably heard me say it a few times during this segment here, talking about Eddie Lampkin. defense. They really need defense in the transfer portal now. Please, Syracuse, go get some guys who can defend. So that's what's coming up tomorrow on Locked On Syracuse. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. And for your second listen, you can check out the Locked On NFL Draft podcast with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. As your favorite collegiate players get ready for the next level, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. And you can find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse so this channel can grow and reach all Syracuse Orange fans. And I will see you all again soon.